The throne hall of the Ascendancy pulsed like a living heart, carved from black crystal and gold-veined stone that shimmered with alien energy. Rows of armored guards stood motionless along the sides, their helmets featureless and gleaming beneath the vaulted lights that bled from floating orbs overhead. At the center of the room sat the alien queen, radiant and terrifying, her pale skin luminescent against the obsidian dais. Silver filigree curled along her armor like veins of starlight, and her long braid shimmered with faint, metallic reflections. Her eyes, cold, slit-pupilled and endlessly deep, watched the lone human kneeling before her with an expression both curious and contemptuous. "You stand in the court of the sovereign of 9 suns," she said. "Do you kneel out of fear or custom?" The human, a soldier named Marcus Hale, lifted his head slowly. His uniform was torn and scorched, his face marked with dust and dried blood, but his gaze held steady. "Neither," he said. "Then why kneel?" "Because I'm tired," he said simply, and a faint ripple of amusement passed through the ranks of guards. Her head tilted slightly, crown catching the light. "You're the first human prisoner to speak without trembling," she said. "Perhaps you don't understand where you are." "I understand perfectly," Marcus said. "I'm standing in front of the one who ended the war before it began." "Ended?" she echoed. "Your people called it surrender. We called it survival," he said. Her expression didn't change, but the faintest flicker of interest softened her gaze. "Your species fascinates me," she said at last. "So fragile, so defiant. You build weapons that crack planets and still measure worth in courage." "Courage's the only thing we can make that lasts," Marcus said. "Everything else gets taken." Her lips curved faintly, though not into kindness. "You speak as though you've lost something." "I have," he said. "A world." She rose from her throne then, and the hall seemed to grow colder. Her armor caught the light, gold against shadow, sharp and divine. "You came to avenge it?" "No," Marcus said. "To understand." "Understand what?" "Why someone so powerful keeps calling herself a monster." The guards shifted at his words, and the air grew tense. The queen's gaze turned to ice. "You tread close to death, human." "So does everyone who lives," he said softly. She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. The scent of ozone and strange flowers followed her, the faint hum of her armor vibrating through the air. "You think to psychoanalyze me?" she asked. "I think you already did it yourself," Marcus said. "You said it first." "I said what?" "That you're a monster." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't deny it?" "I don't see it," he said. "Then you're blind." "Maybe," he said, meeting her gaze. "But I've looked at worse things and still found beauty." A sharp sound, a laugh, cold and incredulous, escaped her. It echoed through the chamber like the crack of crystal. "Beauty?" she repeated. "You call me beautiful?" "Why wouldn't I?" he asked. "Because I've burned cities," she said. "Because I command armies that blot out suns." "Because you protect your people," Marcus said. "Because even in armor, you look like something alive, not made." "You mistake power for grace," she said. "Maybe. Or maybe they're the same thing when you stop running from what you are." She turned from him, her cape whispering across the polished floor. For a moment, she said nothing, only stared up at the vast stained glass ceiling where golden constellations told the story of her conquests. "Why do you humans do this?" she murmured. "Do what?" "See light where there is only ruin." Marcus rose to his feet. The guards stiffened, but the queen lifted a single hand to halt them. "Because that's how we survive," he said. "We find light or we make it." "And if the light burns you?" she asked. "Then we burn brighter," he said. For the first time, something like uncertainty flickered across her perfect, inhuman face. "You're not like the others they've sent here," she said. "No," he agreed. "The others begged." "And you?" "I listen." She turned to him again, her eyes unreadable. "Then listen well. I am not what you think. My beauty is armor, not ornament. My mercy is calculation. My heart has been carved hollow by centuries of war. Then why does it still hurt when I call you beautiful? He asked quietly. The question struck something in her. Her gaze faltered for a heartbeat before hardening again. You presume too much, she said, voice low. Maybe, he said, but I think you needed someone to. Needed? She repeated, almost laughing. You think I, the sovereign, need anything from you? Not from me, he said softly. From yourself. The silence that followed was palpable, heavy enough to bend air. You are brave, she said finally, though the words sounded like both praise and accusation. Or foolish. They're usually the same thing, he said. She turned away again, walking toward the throne. The golden crown atop her head caught the light like fire. You interest me, Marcus Hale, she said. I should destroy you for your insolence. Yet I think I'll keep you instead. He smiled faintly. As what? As curiosity, she said. Or perhaps as warning. That doesn't sound so bad. You misunderstand. Curiosity is studied. Warning is displayed. Then display me, he said. I'll smile either way. She regarded him long and slow, and in that look, something ancient stirred. Something neither of them could name. The sound of the guard's armor echoed faintly as she gave a subtle gesture. They turned and filed out silently, leaving only the two of them in the vast hall. The great doors closed with a resounding boom, sealing them in the hush of golden shadows. She descended from her throne, the click of her boots echoing across marble. You truly are reckless, she said. You're the first human to tell me I'm beautiful to my face. Maybe I'm just honest. Honesty is dangerous here. So am I. She stopped before him, so close he could see the fine fractal patterns glowing faintly beneath her pale skin. They pulsed like veins of light, rhythmically alive. Her gaze searched his face as if trying to decipher something that shouldn't exist. You look at me without fear, she said. That's new. You don't give me a reason to be afraid, he said. You should be. You're surrounded by my guard. In my world. At my mercy. Then maybe mercy's a better prison than most. You mock me? No, he said. I'm just tired of hating what I don't understand. And do you understand me now? Not yet, he said. But I'd like to. Her lips parted slightly, and for a heartbeat, her armor dimmed as if the energy flowing through it faltered. Why? She asked. Because monsters don't ask questions like that, he said. They just kill. She stared at him, expression unreadable, and for a long, fragile moment, neither moved. Then she exhaled, a sound like wind through glass. You think you see me, she said. You see what you want to believe. Maybe, he said, but I think you want to believe it too. A faint shimmer passed through her eyes, something between anger and grief. You know nothing of what I want, she said. Then tell me. No. Then I'll find out myself. You're insufferable. So I've been told. The corner of her mouth lifted slightly, almost against her will. If you keep this up, human, I may begin to think you enjoy death. Only when it's beautiful, he said. Her laughter came soft this time, low and melodic, almost human. It filled the empty hall with something alive. You're impossible, she said. You keep saying that, he said. And you keep surviving it. She turned her gaze toward the far end of the hall where the banners of her empire hung, each depicting a star system conquered under her reign. You think beauty is what saves you, she said. It's what damns you. Maybe, he said, but it also reminds us there's something worth saving. You really believe that? I have to. Because you're human? Because I'm still alive. She stepped closer again, their faces inches apart. You risk much by speaking to me this way. Then maybe it's time someone did. The room seemed to hold its breath. The floating orbs above them dimmed, casting the world into a twilight glow. Shadows draped her armor in molten gold, and for the first time, he could see the faint trace of exhaustion beneath her perfection, the faint tremor at the edge of her composure. You think I'm beautiful, she said softly, almost to herself. Yes, even now, especially now. Why? Because for a moment, you forgot to hide. The words lingered between them, fragile as glass. Slowly, she reached up, removing the crown from her head. It clattered softly as she set it aside. Without it, she looked younger, less divine, more real. "You should fear me," she whispered. "I do," he said. "But not for the reason you think." "Then why?" "Because I could start to care." Her breath caught, a small, involuntary sound, and for the first time since he'd entered, the Queen looked uncertain. "You are a strange creature, Marcus Hale," she said. "And you're not as monstrous as you think," he replied. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. Then she turned away, reclaiming her crown, her composure, her mask. "You will remain here," she said, voice steady again, "as my guest or my prisoner. Time will decide which." "And you?" he asked. "What will time decide for you?" She hesitated just long enough for the question to matter. "Whether I was wrong to let you live." He smiled faintly. "Then I guess we'll both find out." When the doors opened again, the guards returned, silent and imposing. But as they led Marcus from the hall, he glanced back once more. The Queen stood where he had left her, crown in hand, watching him with an expression that no one, human or alien, had ever seen on her face before. Wonder. The cell they placed him in was not a cell at all. It was a chamber carved from obsidian, polished until it mirrored his reflection in faint, distorted light. A single beam of illumination fell from a high aperture in the ceiling, golden and steady, casting long shadows that never quite reached the edges of the room. There was no door, only a translucent barrier humming faintly with energy. Through it, he could glimpse the corridors beyond. Silent, metallic, alive with the faint hum of machines that might also have been alive. Marcus sat on the low bench provided, his body aching from the long interrogation, his thoughts looping endlessly around the image of her poise, her impossible calm, and the trace of doubt that had flickered behind her mask. He had seen fear before, but not that kind. It wasn't the fear of loss. It was the fear of being seen. Hours passed, or maybe days. The Ascendancy had no clocks that humans could read, no sun, no stars visible through the thick lattice of their orbital fortress. He slept lightly, dreaming of gold and shadow. When the hum outside shifted pitch, he woke instantly. The barrier dissolved, and two guards entered, tall, faceless, clad in the same ornate armor that glowed faintly with inner power. "You are summoned," one said, voice modulated and echoing. "By whom?" Marcus asked, already knowing the answer. "The Sovereign." His pulse quickened, but he only nodded. "Lead the way." As they walked through the endless corridors, he felt the eyes of unseen watchers on him. The walls seemed to breathe, shifting faintly in response to their movement, and the floor pulsed in rhythm with the fortress's core. They brought him to a vast chamber unlike the throne hall, a place that seemed older, more sacred. It was circular, lined with crystalline pillars filled with slow-moving light. At its center stood a shallow pool of molten gold, its surface perfectly still. And there she was, the Queen. No crown this time, only the intricate golden armor that gleamed like liquid sunlight. Her braid fell over one shoulder, framing a face that might have belonged to a statue if not for the eyes that met his. "You came," she said. "Was there an option not to?" he asked. "No," she said. "But choice makes obedience meaningful, doesn't it?" He smiled faintly. "So this is philosophy now?" "No," she said. "This is curiosity." She gestured for him to approach. He did, wary but unflinching, until he stood at the edge of the golden pool. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. "I'd guess something religious." "It was," she said, "once, before we replaced faith with order. And now it's history." She knelt beside the pool, tracing a gloved finger along its edge. Ripples of light spread outward, revealing faint shapes beneath the surface. Faces, maybe, or memories. "We used to believe this was the essence of our ancestors," she said. "The gold of the stars, the proof that we were born divine. And you stopped believing?" "No," she said softly. "We learned the truth. It wasn't divinity. It was corruption. He frowned. Corruption? The gold isn't sacred, she said. It's the residue of war. Atoms rearranged by weapons so powerful they changed the color of matter. My people built their empire on it, thinking it was blessing, not aftermath. We worshipped destruction because it sparkled. She looked up at him, eyes sharp. Does that sound familiar, human? He didn't answer right away. Maybe, he said. We've had our share of glittering graves. You think I don't know what your kind is? She said. You glorify courage, but courage and conquest are twins, aren't they? You came to our systems waving peace banners while hiding your fleets behind them. And you didn't? We had nothing to hide, she said coldly. Our existence was weapon enough. He studied her, the faint light glinting off her armor. You talk like you hate what you are. I do, she said. But I am also what I've made myself. And what's that? A ruler without faith. A goddess without worship. Sounds lonely. Her eyes flickered. It's efficient. No, he said quietly. It's empty. Her hand froze above the pool. You think I'm empty? No, he said. But I think you've forgotten how to be full. Her lips parted, but no words came. For a long moment, the only sound was the slow hum of energy coursing through the pillars. You are dangerous, she said finally. Because I tell you the truth? Because you make me want to believe it. She stood abruptly, her movements sharp, controlled. You think your words can fix what I am? No, he said. But they might remind you. Of what? That beauty isn't a lie just because it hurts to see it. Her gaze softened, just slightly. You keep calling me that, beautiful. Because you are. You've seen the bodies I've left behind. Beauty and cruelty aren't opposites, he said. Sometimes they're scars on the same face. She turned away again, walking toward the golden light. You would have made a fine propagandist, she said. I'm not selling anything, he said. Then what are you doing? Trying to understand why someone who's never been defeated still needs to be defended. The words struck her harder than any weapon. She turned, anger and something else warring in her eyes. You presume much, human. You let me, he said. That's not permission. Maybe not. But it's not denial either. She took a step closer, then another, until the faint heat radiating from her armor brushed against him. You think you see through me, she said. But you see what you want. You want your monster to have a heart so you can feel noble for taming it. That's not what I want, he said. Then what? To see you choose something other than fear. She blinked once, slowly, as if the concept itself was foreign. And what would that make me? Alive, he said. Her breath hitched, barely audible. The lights in the room dimmed slightly, their color shifting from gold to pale silver. Do you know what they call your kind among my people? She asked. Fools, maybe? Infectious. That's not better. No, she said. Because it's true. You infect everything you touch with chaos, with compassion, with the need to matter. We conquer worlds. You remake them. So why conquer us? Because we couldn't understand you, she said. And what about now? Now. She hesitated. Now I'm beginning to. He smiled faintly. Then maybe I'm doing something right. Or something very wrong, she said. You make me remember things I buried centuries ago. Like what? Hope. The word fell from her lips like a confession. I thought I killed it long before your species walked upright. But it's still there, rotting quietly under the crown. Then take it off, he said, and let it breathe. She almost laughed. You think it's that easy? Nothing worth doing ever is. She looked at him a long time before turning away. You shouldn't be here, she said softly. Then why bring me? Because I wanted to see if the stories were true. About humans? About belief. The silence that followed was heavy but not hostile. When she spoke again, her tone was different. Quieter, almost reflective. My people are not like yours. We don't fall in love. We merge minds. We don't mourn, we archive. Even our grief becomes data. Sounds efficient, he said. It's sterile, she said. A civilization without ache cannot grow. Perhaps that's why we war. It's the only way we still feel. And you call us the infectious ones. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. Perhaps infection isn't always a disease. It's adaptation, he said. It's evolution. Or extinction, she murmured. Sometimes they're the same thing. He stepped closer, the light reflecting in his eyes. What if this is evolution, he asked. You and me, standing here, trying to understand each other instead of destroying what we don't. Then the universe will never forgive us, she said. Maybe it'll thank us, he said. You think too highly of forgiveness. And you think too little of it. She looked down at the pool again, its molten surface now calm, reflecting both their faces in gold. In another age, she said, we might have been allies. Maybe we still can be. Don't tempt me. Why not? Because temptation is the beginning of surrender. Then maybe surrender isn't losing. It is, she said. When you've built your identity on winning. For a while they said nothing. The sound of the fortress breathing filled the space around them. When she spoke again, her voice was low. You are no longer a prisoner, she said. Am I free? No, she said. You will stay within the inner palace under guard. But you will not be harmed. Why the change of heart? It isn't change, she said. It's caution. You are dangerous. I'll take that as a compliment. Don't, she said. It's a warning. I've been warned before. Not by me. She moved toward the exit, the great doors parting silently before her. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at him. Why do you call me beautiful? She asked. Because you are, he said simply. Even if I am a monster? Especially then. You don't know what that means, she said. I think I do, he said. Monsters don't destroy beauty. They're born from it. You just forgot the difference. She studied him, eyes wide and unguarded for a moment too long. Then, without a word, she turned and left him alone with the golden pool. Marcus stood there for a long time, watching the molten light shimmer and shift. In its reflection, he saw her face again. Not the queen, not the conqueror, but the being beneath the crown. And for the first time since the war began, he believed that even in the ruins of empires, something human could survive. The following days blurred into a rhythm that felt less like captivity and more like waiting. Marcus was assigned quarters within the inner palace, lavish by any standard, though alien in every detail. The walls were made of some material between stone and metal, warm to the touch and faintly alive with energy. Light flowed instead of shone, bleeding gently from invisible seams in the ceiling. Meals arrived through silent panels, delivered by drones shaped like golden beetles. There were no guards inside, but he could sense the surveillance. The air itself seemed to hum with the queen's awareness. He didn't mind. After a lifetime of war, solitude was strange company. What unsettled him was not the quiet. It was how much he thought of her. He saw her rarely, but always unexpectedly. Once, she passed him in a corridor lined with ancient statues, her presence announced only by the faint perfume of electric air. Another time, she appeared on a balcony above the gardens, her armor glinting like sunlight caught in water. She never spoke first. But when she did appear, her gaze always found his, as if drawn by something neither could name. You're restless, she said one evening, appearing in the reflection of his window. He turned, startled. She had entered without sound. Can't sleep, he admitted. Humans have always been restless, she said. It's why you survive so long after logic says you shouldn't. Restlessness keeps us moving, he said, even when we don't know where we're going. She stepped closer, her eyes curious. And where are you going now, Marcus Hale? He met her gaze. Wherever you'll let me. Her lips curved faintly, but not quite into a smile. You mistake tolerance for interest. No, he said. I just think you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to talk. You assume much. And you correct me every time, he said. That's not anger. That's attention. Her head tilted, the faintest glimmer of amusement breaking through. You're dangerously perceptive for a species still afraid of the dark. Maybe it's the darkness that makes us perceptive, he said. Light's just what happens when you stare long enough into fear. For a moment she said nothing, and in that stillness, he realized she was listening not as a queen, but as someone trying to remember how. Later, she led him beyond the palace halls, through an archway that opened into a chamber unlike any other. A vast dome filled with suspended orbs of light, each orbiting slowly around a central spire. What is this? He asked, awed. Memory, she said. Each sphere holds the echo of a world, ours and those we conquered. Every time we consumed a civilization, we preserved its image. Like trophies? Like penance, she said. The orbs shimmered as she walked among them, her fingers brushing one the color of silver mist. Inside it, Marcus saw oceans, endless luminous seas stretching beyond sight. The world of Oral, she said. They had no weapons, only songs. When we came, they sang until their voices burned. And you remember that? Every night. Her voice was calm, but he saw something tremble beneath the calm. You keep them here, he said softly, so you don't forget. So I never forgive myself, she said. He turned to her, studying the faint glow that reflected on her skin. That's not monstrous, he said. It's human. You use that word like a blessing, she said. It's just truth, he said. Maybe that's rarer. And what truth do you see in me? That you've been carrying a graveyard inside your chest and mistook it for a throne. Her eyes widened just slightly, but enough for him to know the words had struck home. You speak as if you've seen it, she said. I have, he said. Different worlds, same ruin. We call it duty so we can sleep. Do you sleep? When I'm lucky, he said. And when you dream? I see the people I couldn't save. Then perhaps we are not so different, she murmured. They stood together, surrounded by the silent ghosts of stars. For a moment, time itself seemed to slow. The faint hum of the orbs deepened, resonating like distant music. Why show me this? He asked. Because I wanted to see how you'd look at it, she said. And what do you see? A man who mourns for what isn't his to mourn. Someone has to, he said. That's not your burden. Neither was it yours, he said quietly. Her expression softened. You speak like someone who's lost faith in everything except people. That's all that's ever real, he said. And you? She hesitated. I thought power was real. I thought empire was meaning. But you keep standing there and everything I built feels smaller. She turned away, voice lowering. You asked me once why I call myself a monster. It's because I know what beauty costs. Every planet I claimed glowed like a jewel before it burned. Then stop burning them, he said. It's not that simple. It never is, he said. But it's still a choice. You think choice survives leadership? If it doesn't, then leadership's just a crown for fear. She laughed then, not cruelly, but bitterly. You would have made a terrible ruler. Maybe, he said, but I'd make a decent reminder. Of what? That nothing divine stays pure by killing what's alive. The hall trembled faintly, the orbs flickering as if reacting to their voices. She reached out, touching his arm, her fingers cool through the thin fabric of his sleeve. You shouldn't say things like that to me, she said. Why not? Because I almost believe you. Her touch lingered a moment too long before she withdrew. Come, she said, recovering her composure. There's something else you should see. They left the chamber and descended through spiraling corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. Finally, they emerged into an underground hall, massive and silent, filled with towering machines half buried in the floor. The foundry, she said. This is where we made the weapons that shattered your colonies. Marcus walked among the silent structures, their surfaces etched with symbols that pulsed faintly as he passed. It's empty, he said. It's waiting, she corrected. For what? For my word. And if you don't give it, then the empire dies. And if you do, so does everything else. He turned to her. Then don't. You think it's that easy? No, he said. But it's right. She met his gaze, something hard flickering in her eyes. Do you know what happens when I hesitate? You lose control? No, she said. People die. My people. And when you don't hesitate? Yours do. Then maybe it's time to stop choosing who burns. She exhaled sharply. You make peace sound like mercy. It is, he said. And mercy's the only thing worth winning. You're trying to rewrite me, human. No, he said. I'm just reminding you that you can. For a long time she said nothing. Then, quietly, I wish I hated you more. You don't, he said. No, she admitted. I don't. She stepped closer again, the faint glow of the foundry lights haloing her features. You stand before everything I am and still call me beautiful. Do you know what that does to me? I think so, he said. No, she said, her voice trembling slightly. You don't. It makes me remember what I was before all this. And what was that? Alive. You still are, he said. Barely. Then let me remind you. Her gaze locked onto his, and in that instant, the air between them felt alive, like static, like breath before lightning. You are reckless, she whispered. And you are worth the risk, he said. Before either could speak again, the hall's alarms ignited. Red light flooded the chamber, harsh and pulsing. From above, a voice echoed through unseen speakers. Sharp, mechanical, urgent. Sovereign. Unauthorized breach in lower corridors. Intruders approaching the core. Her expression hardened, and the transformation was instant. The queen returning, the warmth gone, replaced by cold command. Guards! She barked. The walls split open, and soldiers poured in, armor glinting like obsidian flame. Stay behind me, she ordered Marcus. I'm not hiding, he said. This isn't your fight. Maybe it is now. Her eyes snapped toward him. You'll do as I say. You'll have to order louder, he said. She almost smiled again, but there was no time. The far doors exploded inward as a squad of assassins stormed through, clad in white armor, human design. Your people, she said, realization flashing across her face. Not mine, he said. Not anymore. The fight erupted like thunder. Energy bolts streaked through the air, lighting the hall in violent flashes. Marcus dove for cover as her guards met the invaders in brutal close combat. The queen herself moved like a storm, her armor flaring with golden fire, her blade cutting arcs of light through the chaos. He grabbed a fallen weapon, the alien metal strange and heavy in his grip, and joined the fight. He didn't think, he just moved, covering her flank as another soldier aimed for her back. The shot went wide as Marcus fired first, the recoil searing through his arm. When the last of the attackers fell, the hall was filled with the smell of ozone and burned metal. Smoke curled toward the ceiling like ghostly ribbons. She turned to him, armor scorched, hair unbound, eyes blazing with something raw. You saved me, she said. Looked like you needed the help. You defied me. You're welcome. For a moment, she just stared at him, then laughed, soft and breathless. You're impossible, she said. So I've heard. The light around them flickered, and the silence that followed was filled with something unspoken. You're bleeding, she said finally. It's nothing, he said. It's human. Then it's foolish, she said, stepping closer. Maybe, he said, but I'd rather bleed for something that matters. Her hand brushed his arm, the faint glow from her armor seeping into his skin, sealing the wound. You really are infectious, she said softly. And you don't look so monstrous anymore, he whispered. She froze, meeting his gaze. For the first time since he'd known her, she didn't correct him. The smell of ozone lingered long after the battle was over. Smoke still drifted lazily through the vast chamber, curling in the pale golden light that leaked from cracked panels above. The metallic taste of spent energy clung to the air, sharp and faintly sweet. Marcus leaned against a broken pillar, his breath steady but shallow, the weapon still warm in his hand. Around him, the queen's guards moved like shadows, silent and efficient, clearing debris and tending to their wounded. None spoke to him, but none touched him either. He wasn't one of them, but after the fight, they no longer looked at him like an intruder. They looked at him the way soldiers looked at another who'd earned his place in the line of fire. She stood a few meters away, speaking in low tones to her lieutenant. Even from here, he could see the faint flicker of exhaustion in her movements. Her armor was scarred, her braid loosened, a single strand of silver hair catching the light as she turned. The sight hit him harder than the battle. For the first time, she looked less like a figure carved from divinity and more like something living, something breakable. When her gaze met his, the hall seemed to quiet, sound collapsing into a single thread of awareness between them. She crossed the space between them slowly, the weight of command dissolving with each step. "You're hurt," she said. "You already fixed that," he replied. "Then why do you look worse now?" "Maybe I'm just realizing what almost happened." Her eyes softened, though her tone remained sharp. "They came for me," she said. "But they were human." "Not mine," he said. "They weren't with the fleet. They were something else, mercenaries, maybe, or someone who didn't want peace." "Peace?" she repeated, the word foreign on her tongue. "Is that what you think this is?" "It's what it could be. You think one battle, one conversation, one moment of mercy changes centuries of blood?" "No," he said, "but it has to start somewhere." She turned away, hands clasped behind her back. "You speak like a priest." "I'm a soldier," he said. "Same thing when you're tired enough." She looked back over her shoulder, the faintest trace of a smile curving her lips. "You never stop, do you?" "Not when I care." "And you care about me?" "I don't think I get to choose that anymore." Her expression froze, her armor lights dimming slightly as if in response. "You're a fool," she said softly. "Probably. You realize what that means? What it would mean for either of us?" "I do." "Then stop." "I can't." The silence stretched between them, heavy and alive. "You will ruin yourself," she said. "You'll ruin me." "Maybe," he said. "But if ruin's the price for truth, I'll pay it." Her breath caught. For a heartbeat, her eyes flared with golden light, and then dimmed again, guarded, but not cold. "You're dangerous," she whispered. "You keep saying that," he said. "And you keep proving me right." Later, when the wounded were moved and the hall secured, she summoned him to her private chamber. The room was nothing like the throne hall. Smaller, quieter, walls lined with dark metal that reflected faint light like still water. A single console glowed softly in the center, surrounded by floating data glyphs that shimmered like slow-moving stars. She stood by the console, her armor removed, dressed in a dark gown that glinted faintly when she moved. Without the armor, she looked almost fragile, though the same impossible presence lingered around her like gravity. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "You invited me." "I shouldn't have." "Then tell me to leave." "I would," she said, "if I thought you'd listen." "You're learning," he said, smiling faintly. She gestured toward the floating glyphs. "Do you know what these are?" "I'd guess star charts," he said. "They're memories. Every major decision I've made, the data, the outcomes, the casualties. I catalog them here. Every failure, every triumph, every death with my name on it. And you look at them? Every night. Why? Because forgetting is what monsters do." "You're not one," he said. "You've said that before," she said. "And every time, I want to believe it a little more." "Then believe it," he said. "Belief is weakness." "No," he said. "It's proof you still have something left to lose." Her hand hovered over one of the glyphs, and an image bloomed in the air. A city engulfed in golden flame, its spires collapsing under bombardment. "This," she said, "was your world. Seraphis Prime. 70,000 lives lost in a single strike." Marcus stared at the projection, the memory cutting deep. "I was there," he said quietly. "I know. You led that strike." "I did." "Then why show me?" "Because I wanted you to see what beauty looks like when it burns." "You think that's all it is? Fire and ruin." "It's what I made it," she said. It's what I deserve to see. No, he said. It's what you need to forgive. She turned sharply. You presume to tell me about forgiveness? Someone has to, he said, because no one else will. Her gaze locked on his, sharp and unflinching. You think forgiveness makes this right? No, he said. It makes it possible. Possible. To live. To change. To matter. She stared at him, and for a long moment, the only sound was the soft hum of the glyphs. You think I can change, she said. I know you already are. You think I matter. You always did. And you, she said softly, you believe that saying it makes it true. It's how we start, he said. With words. Then we make them real. She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers slowly. You're undoing me, she said. Good, he said. Maybe it's time someone did. Something in her broke then. Not visibly, not loudly, but with a quiet surrender that filled the room. You have no idea, she whispered. No idea what you're doing to me. I think I do, he said. You're making me remember that I used to feel. And that's bad. It's unbearable. Then let it hurt, he said. That's how we know it's real. She took a single step toward him, eyes shining with a mixture of fury and need. You talk like someone who's never lost everything. I've lost enough to know that losing yourself is worse. And you think you can save me? No, he said. But I can remind you who you were before you stopped saving yourself. The air between them tightened, charged with something electric and dangerous. The golden light around the console dimmed, leaving only the faint glow from the glyphs washing across their faces. You really think I'm beautiful, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't think it, he said. I see it. Even now. Especially now. Why? Because you stopped pretending. She closed her eyes, exhaling slowly. You're going to destroy me, she said. No, he said. I'm going to set you free. From what? From believing that power is the same as purpose. She opened her eyes again, and for the first time, there was no crown, no armor, no mask. Only a woman standing before him, torn between fear and something fragile enough to break the stars. If I fall, she said, I will take you with me. Then fall, he said. I'll catch you. For a heartbeat, she didn't move. Then, almost imperceptibly, she stepped forward, closing the space between them until his breath mingled with hers. The scent of her, metal and rain and something faintly sweet, filled his lungs. Her hand brushed his cheek, cool and trembling. You're impossible, she whispered. So they keep telling me. The world outside the chamber seemed to fade. The hum of the fortress dimmed. The light slowed. Time stretched. It wasn't love yet, but it was something raw enough to hurt and sacred enough to hope. And in that silence, where an empire had once spoken only in orders and war, the Queen of Nine Suns leaned her forehead against a human soldier's and let herself breathe. Later, when she finally stepped back, her composure had returned, but her voice was softer. You'll stay here tonight, she said. Is that an order? A request? Then I'll say yes. She almost smiled. You really are a fool. Takes one to rule one. She shook her head. Sleep, Marcus Hale. Tomorrow the universe will hate us both. Let it, he said. It already does. When she left, the door closed with the whisper of silk and shadow. Marcus stood alone in the half-light, surrounded by the remnants of a life that no longer felt like imprisonment. He looked toward the console where her memories floated, endless and bright. For the first time, he didn't see an empire's sins. He saw a beginning. Dawn didn't exist on the Ascendancy Fortress, but something like it came in cycles of shifting light. When the walls glowed pale gold and the air hummed with warmth, the Virelians called it morning. Marcus woke to that faint glow bleeding through the panels, the soft hum of the ship's power echoing like a heartbeat. He'd fallen asleep on the floor rather than the bed, staring for hours at the ceiling's moving patterns until his thoughts dissolved into exhaustion. His dreams were strange. Images of fire and glass, a woman standing in golden water, a voice whispering his name through static. He didn't remember what she said, only the feeling. Something between sorrow and peace. When he opened his eyes, the door to his quarters was already open, and she was there. The queen stood in the doorway, cloaked in shadow and gold. No crown, no guards, just the faint luminescence of her skin reflecting the room's soft light. "You sleep like someone who's waiting for death," she said. "Maybe I am," he replied, sitting up. "Maybe you should," she said. "The council meets today, and that means they've learned about the attack." He frowned. "The assassins? They know they were human. They think you brought them. You believe that?" "I don't want to," she said quietly. "But wanting isn't proof." He stood, facing her. "Then let me give you some. You think words will convince them?" "Not them," he said. "You." She looked at him a long moment before answering. "Then you'll need to give me more than words." They walked together through the palace's inner corridors, silent save for the faint hum of distant engines. The air felt heavier than usual, charged with anticipation. At the end of the hall stood two massive doors, carved with golden sigils that pulsed like veins of light. "The conclave waits," she said. "They are not like me. Then I'll just have to be myself." "That might be the worst strategy possible," she said, but there was a ghost of amusement in her tone. The doors opened, and the hall beyond was immense. A cathedral of obsidian and light, where 9 towering figures sat in a half-circle, their armor gleaming. Each bore the insignia of a star system. Each watched him like a weapon waiting to be unsheathed. The queen stepped forward. "The human stands accused of treachery," one of the counselors said, his voice metallic and cold. "We detected his genetic code among the infiltrators who attacked the core." Marcus met their gaze. "Then your detectors need calibration," he said. "Silence," another hissed. "You will speak only when addressed." "He speaks when I say he may," the queen interjected. The counselors turned their gaze to her. "Your judgment is clouded," one said. "You have allowed this creature too close." "I decide what's too close," she said evenly. "And I decide what's dangerous." "Then you endanger us all." "You forget your place," she said. The air vibrated as the light around her flared brighter, casting long, trembling shadows. Marcus stepped forward before the tension could ignite. "You think I sent them," he said. "But I fought them. Ask your guards. Ask the walls. They still remember the scorch marks." "Proof is easy to fabricate," one of the counselors said. "So is fear," Marcus said. "And you've been living off it too long." "Insolence," another barked. "I call for termination." "Denied," the queen said sharply. "You will not harm him. You defend him before your own blood?" "He spilled blood for me," she said, and her voice carried such authority that the hall fell silent. "If not for him, I would not stand before you now. If that shames you, perhaps the shame is deserved." A murmur rippled through the conclave. One of the younger counselors leaned forward. "Then what do you propose, Sovereign?" She glanced at Marcus, then back to them. "We are at a crossroads," she said. "War has failed us. Conquest has hollowed us. Perhaps the answer lies elsewhere." "You speak of peace," one said with disdain. "I speak of survival," she replied. "We've mistaken domination for stability. We've made fear our foundation, and fear cracks." "You sound like him," one said. "Maybe I've been listening," she said softly. Marcus's heart pounded. He watched her as she spoke, watched the tremor of conviction grow stronger in her voice, watched the council begin to falter. "You can destroy him," one snarled, "but you cannot destroy what he represents." "No," she said, "and that's why he stays." The chamber erupted in protest, voices overlapping, golden light flashing. The queen's gaze cut through it all like a blade. "Enough," she said, her voice rising low and powerful. "If we are to rule the stars, then we must stop mistaking shadows for enemies. The human stays, not as prisoner, not as weapon, but as witness." "To what?" a counselor demanded. "To change," she said. If we are truly divine, as we once claimed, then we should not fear evolution. For a moment, even the lights seemed to pause. Then, one by one, the counselors bowed their heads, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. So be it, the eldest said finally. But the burden of his existence lies with you. It always has, she said. When the meeting ended, the doors closed behind them with a sigh that sounded almost like relief. Marcus followed her into the corridor, his pulse still racing. That was reckless, he said. You're rubbing off on me, she replied. So I noticed. They walked in silence for a while, their footsteps echoing through the endless halls. Finally, she stopped at a balcony overlooking the endless glow of the fortress's engines below. You realize what this means, she said. They'll watch us. Every word, every move. Then let them, he said. You just changed the course of an empire. No, she said softly. You did. You let me. And that may be my greatest crime. He turned to her, the light from below painting her face in shades of gold and shadow. Do you regret it? He asked. No, she said. But I fear what comes next. Fear's not weakness, he said. It's proof you still care. You think caring is strength? I think it's the only strength that lasts. Her gaze lingered on him, searching. You're different, she said. Humans are always different, he said. That's what everyone's afraid of. Not everyone, she said, stepping closer. Not anymore. The hum of the engines grew louder as she reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. When I was crowned, she said quietly, I swore to outgrow sentiment. It made me predictable, weak. And now I envy your kind, she said, because you break so easily, and still find the courage to love what breaks you. That's not courage, he said. That's faith. In what? In something better than fear. And you think that's us? I think it could be. She smiled faintly, her eyes soft. You really are a fool. So I've been told, he said. But maybe the universe needs more fools. She looked away, toward the distant stars. They'll come for you again, she said. Maybe for both of us. Then we'll face them. Together. Always. The word hung between them like a promise. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she turned back to him, her expression unreadable, and said, Come with me. She led him down a narrow passage that opened into a chamber he'd never seen before. A vast observatory filled with glass and light, the entire cosmos reflected across its curved ceiling. At its center was a platform surrounded by an aura of golden energy. This is the heart of the ascendancy, she said. Every command I give, every decree, every judgment. It all begins here. Then why bring me? Because I'm done giving orders, she said. She approached the platform, placing her hand against its glowing core. The light responded, swirling outward like liquid fire. For centuries, I believed power was purity, she said. That control was meaning. But power without purpose corrodes. You showed me that. I didn't show you, he said. You just let yourself see it. Then help me change it. How? By standing beside me when the light turns. And if it burns? Then we burn together. He stepped beside her, the light casting both their reflections across the glass dome. The stars seemed closer now, brighter, almost within reach. You realize what this means, he said. Everything changes. Good, she said. It's time. She pressed her hand deeper into the light, and the fortress trembled. Across the galaxy, ascendancy ships shifted from formation, engines dimming. A signal pulsed from the core, one that every outpost would receive, every soldier would feel. It wasn't a command. It was a cessation, a heartbeat of peace broadcast across empires. They'll call this weakness, Marcus said. Let them, she said. The strong never change the world. The brave do. The light flared brighter, enveloping them both in its glow. For an instant, he saw the reflection of their faces merged in gold and shadow. A queen and a soldier, two scars of different wars, finally healing into something whole. When the light faded, the fortress was silent. The war, for the first time in memory, was over. The council would resist, others would rebel, but something irreversible had begun. The signal couldn't be undone. The idea had already escaped the cage. She turned to him, her voice low. "Do you understand what we've done?" "We broke the pattern," he said. "No," she whispered. "We became it." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe that's how new worlds start." Years later, legends would speak of the day the Queen of Nine Suns turned away from conquest and toward creation. They would speak of the human who stood beside her, unarmed, and called her beautiful when no one else dared. Some said he died soon after. Others claimed he became her consort, her equal, the first Terran to rule beside an alien throne. But those who had seen them that day, the light, the silence, the change, knew the truth. It didn't matter who lived or died. What mattered was that, for one heartbeat in all of history, a monster believed she could be loved. And when she stood alone at the balcony years later, watching the twin suns rise over a world no longer bleeding, she still heard his voice echo through the quiet, gentle and defiant all at once. "Why do you call yourself a monster?" And her answer, whispered to the dawn, was simple. "Because I was, until you reminded me I was beautiful."